What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to the Draftkings Picks and Predictions Show. We are breaking down UFC Vegas 74. We got a 13-fight card, a very interesting slate, a lot of interesting salaries, a lot of salaries that have not been released. Should be a good show. Welcome back, Gordo, Monk, and Weezy after the week off. Nice to get that week off, but now we have like 12 or 13 weeks straight of UFC this summer. Going to be a crazy summer, but Gordo, how are you doing? You looking forward to this card?
I'm doing okay. You know what? I'm just happy to have there be fights again. You know what? Like you said, there were these salaries that we didn't see. So this is the first time I'm talking about DraftKings this week, actually in the past 2 weeks. So I'm excited to break it down. Excited to see how you guys are targeting this. The elephant in the room is this guy at 6.7. I don't know if you guys heard about him. So we'll see what your guys' takes on that one, and we're going to see how we can adjust accordingly.
Absolutely. We got Monk in the building. Monk, what is up? How you doing?
What is good, everybody? Glad to have fights back. I was thinking about complaining about this card at the beginning of the week, but then I saw the Holly Holm card coming up, and I decided that I should not do that. We actually have a pretty good little card here, a couple of decent fights that I'm looking forward to. And, man, I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing a lot of dog possibilities this week.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a bunch of dogs sticking out. We got Weezy. What is up, Weezy? You looking forward to the card?
Definitely looking forward to this one. It's a weird one. And like Monk said, I kind of looked at every underdog this week, man. I'm like, I could leave like 6,000 on the table and have guys that have a bunch of upside. It's a weird week. So I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you guys.
Yep, me too. Going to be a fun show here. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We go live every Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time to break down the card from a DFS perspective. But I say we get right into it. And as always, we're going to start with our fight to target. And let's start with you, Gordo. What is your favorite fight to target for UFC Vegas 74?
Yeah, despite a couple, like I said, elephants in the room, let's talk about Santos versus Munoz as my fight to target this week. This is a fight that I'm projecting violence. This is a fight that I do think scores pretty well on DraftKings, especially from a perspective of just high. I don't know where I was going with that one, guys. I'm being honest, but yeah, just a high scoring upside here. This one, on one side of things, you have the grappling threat of Munoz, who's always able to finish a fight, but then you got Willie Cat, a guy who's very, very explosive, a guy who's very dynamic, who throws a lot of volume and who has knockdown upside. So in this spot here, I think we have someone who has the possibility to get a finish on either side. And when Santos is someone you can afford this week with the guy 6,700, I'm looking at my option, and he may be the guy I think with most finish upside at the top. So he is someone I'm definitely looking to. No problem getting to him. Flip side of things, if Munoz wins this fight, I do think it comes at lower ownership and the possibility of a finish there as well. Either way, I see a finish happening. Either way, I see a big score happening as well.
Sounds good. Monk, what is your favorite fight to target for this week?
I really like Tim Elliott and Victor Altamirano here. I mean, two of the most explosive guys when it comes to DraftKings stats on the entire card, and it's really not even close. Both guys well over 4 points per minute at the weight class. I mean, both guys, allowing 3 points a minute. Both guys well over 5.5 points a minute inside the distance. So this one's going to be crazy. Tim Elliott, 6-9 in 3-round flyweight fights, 117.69 is his average DraftKings score. That said, lately he's been much, far south of that, 89.73 over his last 3 wins. He's also 940 over his average salary. So I hear a lot of people chirping up Tim Elliott this week. I'm on the Victor Altamirano side, to be honest, but as a whole, I will be playing a ton of this fight.
Another good fight to target. For me, I'm going to go with Alex Caceres, Daniel Pineda. I think it's like the second most likely fight to end inside the distance according to the odds there. But yeah, I think we got a killer be killed fighter here in Daniel Pineda. This guy has been to decision like a handful of times, and kind of how I see it, I think it's Pineda early, Caceres late. I think both guys are going to have opportunities. Pineda submission upside, even knockout upside. The guy's super dangerous. And then as the fight goes on, we typically see Daniel Pineda fall off a cliff in a lot of his fights. So I can see Caceres getting a late finish there, but I think somebody's getting served here. And that is a fight I'm going to be heavily invested in this week. Weezy, what is your favorite fight to target this week?
I'm going with Elliott and Altamirano, just like Monk did. I have always said that, you always want to target the guys that fight like meth heads. And Tim Elliott is a guy that absolutely fights like a meth head. I mean, like, we're looking for that pace. We're looking for a ton of takedown attempts. And, Altamirano fights at a very fast pace as well. So I think that this one, these are going to be like two rats fighting in a shoe when this one starts. So both guys have monster DraftKings work rates. We got for Elliott, it's 4.23 DraftKings points per minute and 63.4 points per 15 minutes. And for El Magnifico, it's 4.28 DraftKings points per minute. That averages out to 64.18 points per 15 minutes in a loss. So either one of these guys could score over 60 points in a loss at that rate and close to 100 in a win. Add up the winners and losers score in this fight, especially if it goes to decision, it could easily be over 150 points. So this one is a great one to target both sides of.
Absolutely. I like it. All right, let's move on to our fight to fade. We'll start with you, Monk. What fight are you fading this week?
Well, sorry, boys. I'm taking it off the board. It's Jin Yu Fry and Elise Reed. Won't need much of an explanation here. Neither one knows how to score any points at all. Neither one barely knows how to win a UFC fight, first of all. Yeah, I'm just not impressed. Both women getting outscored from pretty much everywhere, especially Jin Yu Fry, who's supposed to be the striker of the bunch. She is getting outstruck and outscored at distance, inside the distance, wherever the fight's taking place. So neither one scores more than, let's see, Reed 76 points per win, Jin Yu Fry 68 points per win at the weight class. So not interested in either one of these, and this is one I can easily skip over. If anything, I'll have a little bit of Reed, but I can't see, I'm going for a big fade overall on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to pick something else, but I really couldn't. I'm going to be fading this fight. I mean, there's no way I would late 8,600 on Elise Reed, and then even Jin Yu Fry 7,600. Yes, she might have some grappling upside, but even then, I just can't quite get there. So it's going to be a pretty easy fade for me not touching this fight with a 10-foot pole. Weezy, which fight are you fading this week?
Well, I've always said on this show, Brady, that we want to, not target fighters that look like they're drinking a ton of cough syrup. So in this case, no Dante Mays fights. Okay, the guy looks like he's actually drinking like 3 bottles of Robitussin and then goes out there and he's on slow motion. He looks like he's hanging out with Paul Wall and the boys down in Houston. So this fight's going to take place at a snail's pace, just like every Andrei Arlovski fight, just like every Dante Mays fight. Arlovski scoring a pitiful 2.14 DraftKings points per minute since 2013, and Mays scores 2.41. He's actually a little bit more high volume than Arlovski is. It's also one of the lowest probability fights to finish inside the distance this week. Due to that fact, neither of these guys could bust a grape at this point in their career. I wouldn't want either of these guys in my lineup this week. Probably ends in a draw.
Yeah, probably does end in a draw. Neither fighter is good enough to get the dub. I think it's Gordo. Gordo, which fight are you fading this week?
Yeah, I'm kind of reaching deep in the barrel for this one because, again, you can make a case for a lot of them. Of course, my option is Elise Reed, Jin Yu Fry, but let's talk about a different fight here. Felipe Lins versus Maxime Grishin's one I'm kind of fading. You can make a point down low, but, I mean, that 132 against OSP was kind of not something you're going to see here. So you have a matchup with two guys who really lack a ton of volume. Grisham doesn't really want it on the ground, and I think his takedown defense isn't that bad to avoid the 36% takedown accuracy of Felipe Lins, right? Both guys averaging under 4 strikes per minute. I think it's going to be a fight that goes the distance. I think it's going to be a fight that's going to be low volume. And of course, a finish is always live when you got a guy like Felipe Lins in his gas tank, but I do think it's one that doesn't score as well as the people around.
Yeah, another very greasy fight like that Mays fight. Let's move on to the fighter to fade. I'll kick this one off. Speaking of that Mays fight, I guess I'm fading both, but more specifically Andrei Arlovski, 7,700. At least with Mays, he has some finishing upside, whereas with Andrei Arlovski, he has like 0 finishing upside. He has 0 grappling upside as well. Like if Andrei Arlovski wins this fight, he probably scores 50. Or maybe 55 DraftKings points. So just no reason to play any on Andrei Arlovski this week. 7,700. Even if he was like 5,000, I probably wouldn't even play him. Weezy, which fighter are you fading this week?
I went with Maxim Grishin this week. This place, I think it's going to be a slow-paced fight, kind of like the Arlovski-Mays fight. Grishin doesn't wrestle much, and he only scores about 2.4 DraftKings points per minute, and Lins only allows like 2.32. It looks like Grishin would definitely need like a first or second round finish to pay off his price tag. I don't see that as being very likely. So he feels like a higher salary option this week that you can just fade. So I'm going to stay away from him.
Yep, nothing wrong with fading some Maxime Grishin. Gordo, how about you? Which fighter are you fading this week?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm avoiding talking about the Fry fight, Fry Reed fight early on, I'll talk about it now. Jinyu Fry, someone I'm fading 76, and you know what? Come at me for fading an underdog, but in this slate here, when you have the elephant in the room who's at 67, you can afford anybody, and you can fade anybody because of that as well. I'm fading Jinyu Fry. She's never scored above 72 points in her life, and I don't think that goes here. Even with some wrestling upside, I don't think it's coming out of too high of a clip, and I don't think she outscores people around her. Pretty short breakdown. You guys covered it enough.
Easy fade indeed. And then Monk, which fighter are you fading this week?
I'm gonna roll the dice and go with John Castañeda. He does score decently, over 100 points on average over his 2 UFC wins at the weight class. But overall, his pace is nothing to write home about, and really, it's a fade for him just because of who he's fighting. Castañeda allowing 5.25 points per minute in 3-round. What weight class are we at here? Bantamweight. 3-round bantamweight fights. He's allowing 5.25 points per minute inside the distance. Meanwhile, Gafarov in his fight, his one UFC fight so far, 4.25 points inside the distance per minute. So I'm looking at that angle here. One guy, Castañeda, scores 81, almost 82% of all of his DraftKings points at distance. And Gafarov, he is the complete opposite. 78.5% of his DraftKings points were inside the distance. So it really depends on where this game is going to go. And I'm thinking Gafarov, if he can work any kind of wrestling here, Castañeda is going to just get shut down. So give me the fade on John Castañeda overall, and at the favorite salary of 8,400.
Perfect. Sounds good to me. Let's move on to our favorite dog. I'll kick this one off, and we're going to go right back to that Gafarov fight. So do we officially have the salary yet, Monk, or no?
Yeah, it's 84 and 78.
Oh, okay.
Gafarov 78.
Okay, cool. Because I figured it would be 7,800 anyway, so yeah. That's good. My lineup can now be shared at the end of the show. But yeah, I like Gafarov quite a bit. 7,800. I do want to see how he looks on the scales, though. He has taken this fight on about a week's notice. But I was talking to Lou, and Lou was talking about how he had a fight scheduled anyway. So if that's the case and that's true, just makes me like him so much more. I think Gafarov's very, very good. I'm very high on this guy. Solid striker, lots of power, really good wrestling, relentless with the wrestling, and I think that's going to equal a big DraftKings score in a win. On top of that, the guy has finished 17 out of 18 wins, so very dangerous as well. So yeah, at 7,800, love me some Gafarov this week. Monk, who is your favorite dog this week?
Favorite dog? I'm going with someone who I thought would be more popular, but Victor Altamirano this week. A lot of people on the Tim Elliott side, they just saw what Mackenzie Dern did going through her divorce and whatnot, and everybody is on Tim. I'm serious. I've heard this a million times.
Really?
Nobody remembers what happened to JP Bays, though, do they? Let's all think about that for just a second. That's as long as we need. I like Victor Altamirano here, $7,200. As I said before, love this fight overall. I think the winner has a great chance of making the optimal lineup. And if you're telling me both guys score through the roof when they win, Altamirano is the one that has made the optimal lineup 2 out of 3 times. I'm taking him at $7,200. 8 times out of 10 most likely, and that's probably how I'll play this one. 60, 70, 80% Altamirano to 20% Elliott. But I just love him at this price, and I think if he wins, he has the potential to score well into the triple digits. And if that's the case, that's pretty much a guarantee to be on the nuts lineup. So give me Victor Altamirano for huge DraftKings upside here.
Gordo, how about you? Who are you liking?
Yeah, well, should I do it? Should I talk about Mullarkey here? Do we have to address him, right? I mean, maybe just cover him once. 6.7K. I mean, this guy's minus 500 favorite here. In this spot, it's going to be a guy's going to be extremely high owned, but it allows you to fit anybody you want into your lineups. It is that kind of that. At that same time, it's a free square. Although if you want to get different, go ahead, get different. But you do have a guy's minus 500, facing a guy coming on a short notice. I think Mullarkey's going to have many advantages in this spot and will have the ability to get onto that optimal lineup pretty easily, considering you're allowed to get a lot of people going. It's a very square spot for me to say is my favorite dog, but you got to mention him at least once.
Yeah, and I'll be talking about him as well. So we'll mention him a couple more times probably. Weezy, how about you? Who are you liking?
Like you, Brady, I like Gafarov this week as a dog. He wrestles, and he's got big power, too. He's got nearly a 95% finish rate in his career, so he's exactly the kind of fighter I love to target on DK. He's short notice against a tough opponent, but he's also never been finished. So even if he loses, you're probably getting a full 15 minutes out of him and potentially 2 or 3 takedowns. So I feel like he's a high floor and a potentially high ceiling option at only 7,800 this week.
Yep, I like it. I like it. All right. Let's move on then to some prize picks. Here, I pulled the banner. If you guys have not signed up for prize picks, use that promo code Pub Sports. And there were two that stuck out. If you want to see if they're still there, I'll kick it to you first, though, Monk. What do you like on prize picks this week?
I didn't like a lot, to be completely honest. I was just taking a look before this, but I did find a couple. I'm going to give you Luan Lacerda, and I just clicked off of it. Luan Lacerda over 77.5 points scored overall. I like this spot here against Damone Blackshear. So far, both these guys winless in the UFC. So one of them's got to take the dub. The one thing I did notice is Lacerda in his 15-minute fight against Cody Stamann, who has a decent, known for being a decent wrestler, scored 4.99 points per minute inside the distance, allowed just 0.5 points a minute. Meanwhile, Blackshear in his 2 UFC fights, getting outscored inside the distance by over a whole point, 2.4 to 3.5. So I'm liking what I see there. Hopefully, Lacerda can gain an edge. And if he gets the win, I really think he's going to score well over the 77.5 point mark. So I really like him at $8,700 this week.
All right. Weezy, what do you like on prize picks this week?
So I'm looking at Karine Silva's fantasy score. It's 92.5 for this week. And that pretty much assures that she's going to need to get a first or a second round finish here. And she's a great finisher, but I don't really think she's going to even get a finish. I mean, like, the problem with Karine Silva, everybody, is that she couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat. If you look at her distance striking numbers, they are absolutely terrible. Karine Silva at distance, a 19% accuracy and a 27% defense. And when you watch Souza fight, she's tiny and she moves. She's like a little flea in there. She's hard to get a beat on. I think this fight's probably going to go the distance, honestly. And if it does, I think Karine Silva, who's not like this really active wrestler, and she couldn't hit anything, even if she tried, I think that she's not going to get 92.5 points. I don't even think she's going to win this fight. So I'm going the under 92.5 fantasy score for Karine Silva this week.
All right. I was going to go the under 12.5 minutes, but that would be going against you there. And I want to line us up here. So I'm going to go with the Jinyu Fry over 0.5 takedowns. So just one takedown. Yeah. I mean, it would be dumb for her not to even get one takedown. Like, if she strikes with Elise Reed for 15 minutes, it just wouldn't make any sense to me. I mean, Elise Reed has a clear hole in her game that everybody could see. So I think Fry gets at least one, if not more than 0.5. So I like that Fry over on those takedowns there. And then Gordo, what do you like for this week?
I won't lie, that's the same one I was looking at too, but I'll go right to another different takedown one. Amir Albazi over 2 takedowns. For me, I have no doubt in my mind that Kai Francis is a great get-up game. I think he has the ability to scramble and get back up. But I do think over the course of 25 minutes, if it goes that, you're going to have someone, Amir Albazi, who offers a bunch of different variety from his takedowns, some decent trips, some good entries as well. And I do think he's able to land 2 over the stretch of that for sure, especially if he wants to have a chance to win this. We all know how slug of a striker that Kai France is. So I think that takedown route is what you're going to need from Amir Albazi. And from a guy who's sitting at -115, -120 right now, that's going to be his highest path to victory. I like the over.
All right, let's see if we can go 4 for 4. If you guys want to check out Prize Picks, use that promo code Pub Sports. Moving on, we have our favorite GPP play. We'll start with you, Monk. Who are you liking this week?
Well, I mean, again, I'm just going to take this one off the board. I mean, how could you... It sucks that it's like this, but it is. It's Jamie Mullarkey, guys. This is crazy. Everyone's going to be talking about him. They've all talked about him already. He's only 6,700, -500, -600, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to give you a different angle here. This is something I tweeted yesterday. 22 times since 2021 have we seen 2 fighters with salaries that do not equal $16,200. 18 times out of 22, one of those fighters has been optimal. That's 82%. 15 times, one of those fighters has scored over 100 points. And those fighters have a 100% optimal rate. So triple digits is guaranteed optimal in these fights. Average DraftKings points per win is 110, and the higher salary has a record of 15-7 overall. So, guys, this is a fight to definitely target. Obviously, Mullarkey has a huge upside going against someone that has the worst strength of schedule on the card and has never fought in the UFC. Meanwhile, Mullarkey has been fighting in the UFC for several fights now. So, just to wrap up, I like Mullarkey here, one of the favorite dogs. Unfortunately, he's going to be like 80% owned. So you're either going to have to go way under or probably 100%, something like that. So It's going to be a very common choice, but how could you pass up such, tremendous value opportunity?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. We're all going to probably talk about him, but I'm talking about him a little bit different on a different section there. I'm going to go for my GPP play, Daniel Santos, 9,200. So it's kind of frustrating because Monk, I'm sure you might remember this, but do you remember Santos's salary when they were supposed to fight a couple weeks ago or no?
Oh, no, not
I think it was like 80,
I think it was less than
Wasn't it
that.
85?
Yeah, it was way less than this.
Yeah. So around there, which I don't like that it's 92, but still I think he has a lot of upside here. I mean, this is a guy that throws a lot of volume. He's very dangerous. He breaks his opponent. We saw him do that to John Castañeda. And if he wins this fight, I do expect him to put up a pretty big score in a second or third round finish. Lots of volume there. So I like Daniel Santos. Like I said, I would have rather paid that 8,500 a couple weeks ago, but he's 9,200 now, and on the money line, he's like minus 220, minus 225 now even. So give me Santos, though. I still like him, and I still like him to finish this fight regardless. Weezy, who's your favorite GBP play this week?
I'm going to go with Tim Elliott. He's a spaz. He's a high-volume striker. He wrestles early and often. Tim's attempted 99 takedowns since the beginning of the year 2013. He doesn't hold his opponents down well either. So he has the potential to get rinse and repeat takedowns and pile up points. And since he's not much of a finisher, you usually get the full 15 minutes out of him. And at 4.23 DraftKings points per minute, that's around 93 points in a decision win. And if he gets a finish, it just goes up from there. So I'd say Tim is another high floor, but even higher ceiling option. And this promises to be a very, very high-paced fight. So I think it's a great one. No matter what your lineup is, it should have Elliott or Altamirano in there.
Yep, agreed. And then Gordo, how about you?
I agree. I think he's someone you read the target as well. I do like Elliott, but I'm going to talk about Alex Caceres here. Pineda is also the one I was debating mentioning as my GPP person this week, but really both these guys have such finish potential because of the way Pineda fights. I mean, this guy has 28 wins, 28 finishes, 100% finish rate. The guy is shot out of a cannon early on. Pineda is someone who is really, really aggressive. And because of that, Caceres is going to have the advantage to look for a finish, whether it be early on with his really slick striking or later on as Pineda breaks down the stretch. So when you have the ability to get anybody really with the salary of someone like Jamie Mullarkey, as we mentioned 1,000 times already, I do like someone in Caceres or Pineda in this fight as a whole. And I do think that when you have the ability to spend that salary, Caceres is the more likely winner in this spot. And I do think he has a pretty high ceiling considering the way that Pineda fights.
Yep, for sure. Good fight to target. Very exciting fight. Let's move on to our favorite cash play. I'll kick us off here. I'm going to be the third person that talks about Jamie Mullarkey, 6,700. I mean, if you don't play Jamie Mullarkey in cash, I mean, something's probably wrong with there. He should be 100% owned. He's minus 500 on the money line. And not only do I think he wins this fight, but I think he scores very well. I think he has wrestling upside. He's going to be a whole weight class bigger than his opponent coming in on short notice. So I think Jamie Mullarkey not only wins, but has a very, very high ceiling. Honestly, one of the highest ceilings at only 6,700. I mean, when's the last time we saw somebody minus 500 at this price tag? So I'm going to be taking advantage of it, playing a ton of Mullarkey, whether it's cash, tournaments, pretty much everything this week. And love me some Mullarkey. But I went for him as my cash play. Gordo, how about you? Who do you like as your cash play?
Makes sense. I mean, that's really the way to do it. He should be in a lot of lineups anyways in cash. You're not really risking too much doing that. I'll go to Amir Albazi, $8,000. Like a bit of a riskier cash play, especially in comparison to someone like Jamie Mullarkey. But I do think in this spot here, he's able to keep up in the striking exchanges, and he has the ability to mix in takedowns here with a pretty high ceiling. So I think his floor is there for sure. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting close matchup. But I do think in cash, he's a decent way to secure yourself some points there.
And Monk, who are you liking in cash this week?
Real quick, just to say, when was the last time you asked minus 500 at $6,700? I've never seen it since 2021. Jared Gooden won at 6,800, but he was plus 130. TJ Brown won at 7,100 at minus 223, and then RDA 7,300 at minus 185. So to answer your question, no one. It's not even close, and this has never happened in the past like 3 years. So
that's wild.
It's kind of nuts. I'll make it quick. Karine Silva, I like her for cash. I really hate the 9K range this week, but she's fighting someone, in Ketlen Souza that is, has 10 total, between wins and losses, KO, TKO, fights that have ended rather in KO, TKO. She has hardly any subs in her career. Silva's going to be looking for that, I think. So she should have a big advantage there. Like Weezy said, she can't hit the broadside of a barn in her first fight, only scoring 1.16 points per minute, but inside that is at distance 1.16 points a minute, but inside the distance 10.74 points a minute. And she, more impressively, she allowed 0. She did not give up control time for one half of 1 second in that entire fight. So I like Silva here fighting, a UFC debutante. Hopefully it's kind of a gimme here, but obviously, it's low level women's MMA. Last thing I'll say, women's flyweight fights, third best weight class to target overall. They make the optimal lineup at about a 54% rate.
There you go. And Weezy, how about you? Who do you like for cash?
Yeah, it's Mullarkey for sure. 6,700 frees up a ton of salary. You can get anyone you want in your lineup. He's the biggest favorite on the card. Pretty much everyone will own him. So in a cash lineup, it's a huge risk not to own him, because if he goes out there and has a solid game, and then everybody else has a guy that's 6,700 that scored like 85 points and an easy win, you're going to be left behind. So he's kind of one of those guys that, with the cash lineup, you either have him in it or you don't. But if you don't, you're taking a huge risk. Absolutely.
Would be a massive risk. Let's keep moving on to our favorite value play. There's a lot of value on this slate, I'd say. We'll start with you, Monk. Who you liking for some value?
I'm going to go with Gafurov here at 7,800. I think this guy has a tremendous ceiling, especially going up against the opponent he's currently matched up against, who allows well over half a point per minute in takedowns and control time. I already spoke about the pace, the inside the distance pace, which is why I'm focused on this fight. Obviously, offensively, much better for Gafurov and much worse for Castañeda. Just looking to see Gafurov score well. That's really what I'm concerned with in his, let's see, did not win his last fight. So his ceiling is just the average for the weight class, which is about 95. But I'm really looking for a couple of takedowns here, some dominant control time in a win, and over 100-point score. That's what I would like to see from Gafurov in order for me to keep wanting to roster him. So I'm thinking if he does do that, the value here is going to be pretty tremendous.
Yep, I like him. I'm going to have a ton of them myself. Weezy, how about you? Who you liking for some value this week?
Yeah, whoever you like in the main event is going to be value this week. I'm going to go with Caceres, 8,200. He's a very good finisher. He gets knockdowns, and he's got 5 rounds to work. So even in a decision loss at his current work rate of 2.97 Draftkings points per minute, which is okay, it's about average, he's still scoring at that rate about 74 to 75 points in a loss. So it's a high floor option. It's mid-priced. It's a 5-round fight. There's tons of value in whoever you think wins the main event. And whoever loses it, too, is probably actually going to score some points. So either way you go. I mean, I know last week I had Angela Hill. She was the only fighter that lost in my lineup. But, even in a performance where she was wearing Mackenzie Dern like a pair of spandex, she still wound up scoring like 50 Draftkings points in a decision loss. So it's, whether you get that winner or loser in the main event, if it goes the full 25, you got a pretty good, cash lineup player there.
Yep. I'm going to talk about somebody who we haven't mentioned this fight yet. It's Jim Miller at 7,100. I get why Gordon is the favorite here. He should be the minute winner wherever this fight takes place on the feet on the mat. But Jared Gordon just got brutally knocked out a little bit over a month ago. I was listening to his interview today. He was talking about like having a concussion and he's just coming back way too soon here. And Gordon's a guy that I worry about the durability in general. And then on top of that, he has to cut weight again. He just got knocked out a little bit over a month ago. I really worry about his durability, especially now. And yeah, Jim Miller's 39, but he still hits very hard. He's still a BJJ black belt, very dangerous everywhere the fight goes. And at 7,100, like he's only like plus 150, plus 160 on the money lines. They're just way too cheap here for somebody with that upside in Jim Miller. So me playing some Jim Miller, I think he's lots of value there. And I think Gordo, right?
Yes, and you talked about someone we haven't talked about yet. I like their shot there. I'm going to talk about someone we have talked about already, and that is Victor Altamirano as a value play. 7.2. I mean, I myself am picking Elliott to win. You just can't deny the upside that Altamirano has down here at 7.2. I mean, he has the ability to go all 15. We know Elliott isn't historically the biggest finisher, but if we're going to have crackhead Elliott come out there, throw a ton of volume, Altamirano can match that. Altamirano can keep on going. He's put up some decent scores in his wins, and I do think that if he does win this fight, which is not impossible for him to do, I think he has a good shot to do that. His ceiling is one of the highest in the slate here. So a ton of value at 7.2. I think he is a guy who you should be looking to roster. These guys killed it with the breakdowns as well, though. Very fun fight.
Yeah, I'm hearing conflicting opinions. Weezy, does Tim Elliott fight like he's on crack or on meth?
It's, I wanted to explain this difference. It is meth, Gordo. We can have a talk about this a little bit later on. There
Still
are
young.
subtle differences.
I was going to say
break that down at
speed.
some other time, but yeah, it could be speed too. Monk isn't far off there. I'm sticking with meth.
Does Tim Elliott own pigeons?
Yeah.
That would solve this question immediately.
The great Mike Tyson owned pigeons and then was somebody who broke people's faces for a living. I don't know if Tim Elliott's quite that, but man, my God, that's brilliant.
Maybe he'll focus on pigeons now. He has some more free time. That was mean. I apologize.
So it's
I didn't know how else to end that sentence.
All right. Let's move on. So let's go to our dart throw, and let's start with you, Gordo. Who's your dart throw for this week?
Well, it's someone you just mentioned. That's Jim Miller. I mean, he is the dart throw, in my opinion, this week. Again, we talked about this before we aired here. You do not have a $50,000 lineup a lot of the time. A lot of the time, there is salary on the table, and I think that if you're going out there getting Mullarkey, Miller is the GVP option this week. He is the dart throw, because a lot of this time, sure, you can say that Gordon may be the better fighter here, but as Brady mentioned, he is coming off of a pretty nasty knockout really quickly. Like he said, he's been concussed, and the upside for Miller at this age is he's still powerful. He still has finish upside. So at 7.1, I do think is a very, very high ceiling this week, and you can make yourself some pretty original lineups with the amount of salary left on the table with him as a dart throw.
Yep, right there with you, Gordo or Monk. My bad. What is your dart throw for this week?
I'm going to go with Daniel Pineda at 7,300. Talk about round one or bust. I mean, if this guy wins, he's pretty much a guaranteed optimal lineup. So he's getting outpaced everywhere, as you would expect. Did look, until he's not. That's what it comes down to. Average bonus points per win. Now, he is 4-5 in 3-round featherweight fights at the UFC level. And his 4 wins, bonus points per win, 85 on average. All 4 of those wins over 100 points. A very awful strength of schedule, but we're going to look past that right to the round one finish win rate, which is 75%. He's been finished once in the first round himself. $7,300. I mean, against a guy like Alex Caceres, who all he needs to take is one misstep in the first minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and this fight could be over. So I'll definitely have some of Pineda rostered, that's for sure. Like I said, definition of round one or bust. So if he wins, I mean, it's almost a guarantee at this point. So ultimate dart throw for me is Mr. Pineda.
Yeah, Pineda and Miller are both dart throws that make a ton of sense. I'm going to get a little dirty here, though. I'm going to go with Philippe Lin's 7,400 for a couple reasons. I mean, first of all, these price tags just don't make sense. Like, I see this as a straight pick 'em. I think they're both pretty terrible. And Lin's only plus 108 on the money line. I see like a plus 100, minus 105, and he's only 7,400 here. And I kind of feel like if Lin's wins, it's probably going to be either greasy or it's going to be early. Linz has power. He's a BJJ black belt. We saw him finish OSP, break the slate in his last fight. So I will be attacking some Linz here just due to the price tag. I think he's way too cheap in a fight that I feel like could really go either way. Weezy, how about you? Who's your dart throw for this week?
This week, I'm going to give you a dart throw that makes the 3 gentlemen above me look like cowards. You want to take your big balls that are like blowing out the crotch of your jeans and just throw them in a wheelbarrow here. You want to put somebody in your lineup that literally nobody is going to own here. Jin Yu Fry.
Oh my.
This week's yes. All right. She's been known as a cancer in your DraftKings lineup for her entire UFC career. This week, though, her path to victory is to grapple. And if she does so successfully, she might score decent in a decision win. But because Elise Reed is so terrible on the mat, there could be sneaky finish upside here at 7,600. If no other underdogs win this week, Jin Yu Fry, under the right circumstances, could be optimal. Definition of a dart throw, but she will be low owned as fuck. So that's a dart throw. All these clowns above me, they don't have the balls that their Uncle Weezy has. So let's go.
Now that is a name I was not expecting to hear.
Sure
There you go,
don't.
Weezy. I like it. That is a dart throw if I've ever seen one.
Yes, sir. Let's go, dude. Pub Sports Radio, where they're the home of the hot takes, baby.
Very hot. All right. So what we're going to do now, first of all, if you guys can leave a like, let's get those likes up. Also, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns in the chat, We'll pull those up in a second, but we're going to go over our lineups from last week, and then we'll talk about our lineups for this week and pulling them up. And all right, so and I think we all did really good last week. But I got last. I had Natalia Silva 108, Anthony Hernandez 115, Themba Garimbo 113, Chase Hooper 120. Yeah, I got last with these four, and then it got bad with Demopoulos 30, and then Angela Hill 44, scoring 533. And third place was Monk. He had Natalia Silva 108, Nascimento 58, Borshev 134, Hooper 120, Urbina 125, and Shabazian 18, scoring 556 or 566. And then in second place was Gordo. He had Anthony Hernandez 115, Mackenzie Dern 153, Godinez 88, Garimbo 113, Hooper 120, and then Fiallo 9, scoring 600. And then Weezy with Natalia Silva 108, Hernandez 115, Themba Garimbo 113, Hooper 120, Urbina 125, and then Angela Hill 44. So Weezy scored 629, which has to be like one of the biggest scores of the year. Just wild.
It was one of those weeks, like that 629 point lineup, like got you $5 back on a $3 entry. And it was a weird week, but we all really had good weeks this week. There were a lot of, low price fighters that fit in easily, and we all kind of got the same core of people in there. So, I didn't really gain any ground on any of you guys. You're still waxing my ass. So, but yeah, it was a fun week. This was a fun week all around. I had a great week 2 weeks ago. Hoping to have another one like that this week.
Real quick, there was only one other score all year that's beaten that one. One other 600-point score. It was Uncle Weezy, March 11th.
Woo!
The Carl Williams, Krylov, Romanov, Henry, Harris, and Dvalishvili scored 638.
Yeah, and that was Romanov ruined, dude. If Romanov would have won that fight, if he would have just showed up in any kind of shape at all, I would have quit the show and been wearing a gold crown around Chicago. It would have been such a huge win for me. I would have been up like 9 units that day. It would have been crazy. So yeah, it's great when I have the good weeks that they're great.
Right.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's go over the current standings. In fourth, we got Monk with 6,527. In third, we got Weezy with 6,827. In second, we got myself, 7,157. First place is Gordo, 7,382. We got Monk, who is 855 behind Gordo. Weezy, 555 behind Gordo. I'm 225 behind Gordo. And Gordo, you are first, and we are 17 cards in. Congrats.
Hey, if we can just have weeks like last week, just the rest of the year, or 2 weeks ago, the rest of the year, who cares what place I finished? And that was a great week last week. Congrats to everybody.
Good stuff, everybody. All right, lineups for this week. I'll kick us off here. I'm going up top. Give me Karine Silva. Give me Daniel Santos. Give me Tim Elliott. I'll take Gaffarov as a dog. I'll take Albazi as a dog, and then I'll take the free square Jamie Mullarkey. Monk, do you have your lineup ready for this week?
I do. We'll go Karine Silva up top. We'll go Luan Lacerda, Amir Albazi, Muin Gaffarov, Victor Altamirano, and Jamie Mullarkey.
All right, Gordo, do you have your lineup ready for this week?
I do, but this is such a weird one. We're going to go with Daniel Santos up top, 9.2. We're going to go with Tim Elliott, Alex Caceres, Amir Albazi, Gaffarov, and Jamie Mullarkey.
I think we're one off then, right?
Yeah, we're close. I was listening to you.
Nice. And then Weezy, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going in just a little bit of a different direction than you guys. I got Daniel Santos, but I'm going to have Jared Gordon in my lineup. Jared's a great Draftkings scorer, and I'm just worried about him getting knocked out, obviously. But if he doesn't, he's going to rack up takedowns. He lands like 6 significant strikes per minute. I mean, he's a high-volume Draftkings scorer. Tim Elliott, Kai Kara France, Muin Gaffarov in the free square, Jamie Mullarkey for a $50,000 salary. Looking for another big week.
Let's go. All right. Let's see what we got left on the table. I didn't see any questions, so no questions today. I guess we'll just do our quick picks and then we'll head out of here. Gordo, what are your quick picks for this week?
Well, this is the first time I'm doing them this week, so this is, let's see. I'll take Maxim Grishin starting off. We'll take Luan Lacerda. We'll take Elise Reed, Daniel Santos, Andrei Arlovski, Muin Gaffarov, Elizeu Zaleski, Jamie Mullarkey. Oh, my order's messed up. Karine Silva, Tim Elliott, Jared Gordon, Alex Caceres, and Amir Albazi.
All right, give me Grishin, Lacerda, Reed, Santos, Arlovski, Gafarov, Dos Santos, Mullarkey, Silva, Elliott, Miller, Caceres, and France. Monk, what are your quick picks for this week?
Let's see. CM Monk with 7 underdogs this week. Linz by finish, Lacerda decision. Let's see. Frey decision, Munoz decision, Mays finish, Gafarov finish, Nurmagomedov decision, Mullarkey decision, Silva finish, Altamirano decision. Interesting. Gordon decision, Caceres finish, and Albazi finish.
Lots of dogs, lots of finishes. There you go. And then Weezy, how about you? What do you got?
Kai Kara France by decision. Daniel Pineda is Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week as an underdog. Submission, round 2. Jared Gordon by decision. The jilted Tim Elliott by decision. Souza by decision over Silva. Jamie Mullarkey, decision. Abubakar Nurmagomedov, decision. Muin Gafarov, decision. Tajikistan, stand up. Dontail Mays, decision. Daniel Santos, 3rd round knockout. Jinyu Fry by decision. Damon Blackshear by decision. And Maxim Grishin by decision. Stop the violence, ladies and gentlemen. I only have 2 finishes on this card.
Oh my, I have 9. So
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. It's one of those cards, Brady. Man.
Yeah, it's a wild card.
Yeah, it's one of those, dude. My money is not really getting near this card this week. It's one of those.
It's a lightweight. Monk, how many finishes are you predicting?
I believe 6.
6. Oh my gosh, I'm way over everybody. All right. So yeah, good show, guys. Interesting slate, fun slates. Before we head out of here, going to kick it to Gordo. Gordo, let the people know your plans for this week for some content.
Yeah, weird one. Usually I'd say by now, go check out the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. Everything's already posted. It's not, actually. I think I might just go live right after this, nail a video out there, send out all my picks and predictions for both DraftKings betting. You can check that out at Plays and Fades Sports. And I'll be recording as always, with the Daily Fan MMA crew tomorrow night.
And quickly, Gordo, what was your prize pick play for Spencer in the chat?
I had Amir Albazi over on takedowns, but my original play was the Jinyu Fry takedown.
Okay, and I had the Fry over 0.5 takedowns. And then Monk, what was your play? And then also, where can they find you? And what are your plans for some content?
I had Lacerda over 77.5 points scored. Same with Gordo. Usually my game theory video would be out. I am going to finish recording the last 2 fights as soon as we're done here. And then I got to edit it, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. It will be out at some point tonight, probably super late. But by the time you wake up to, if you're a night owl, you can check it later. Or otherwise, it'll be up by the time you wake up, man. Otherwise, me and Lou bet ya going on Friday, happy hour, 4:30, 5:30 Eastern time. Other than that, man, I'm looking forward to some fights this weekend. I don't have to sit around and just, Pablo Escobar at my front lawn this weekend. So we're going to be good. Got some fights back, and I'm really looking forward to it.
And last but not least, Weezy, let people know where they can find you, your plans for the rest of the week, if any.
I don't have much in the way of plans for the rest of the week. I released a video today explaining the new tier on my Patreon, which has got a really nasty spreadsheet that compares everybody's fighter statistics to the divisional averages and color codes them whether they're above or below average. So I did a video explaining that today on my channel. Just the tip with Uncle Weezy was last night. And I'm going to give a greasy 4-leg parlay on my YouTube channel on Friday. So other than that, I'm done for the week. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 74 and bathe in the blood of our vanquished DraftKings enemies. Let's go, you guys.
Let's do it. Should be a fun card. And then next week, a very fun card in UFC 289. Best of luck, guys. Like, subscribe, and new out. And we'll talk to you guys very soon. See you later.